Hello, I'm Jacquelyn and welcome to my Not Living Alone diaries where I share a glimpse of my life as a wife and a fur mom. Because it's the start of July, I am going to share with you the books that I will be reading for this month. But before that, I am also going to share a little review of the books that I finished for the month of June. First book is Men We Reap by Jesmyn. This is a memoir that she dedicates to 5 men who made a significant impact in her life. And these men were her brother, her cousin, and I think 3 were brothers. To be honest with you, I am not very confident sharing my review for this book because I know this is a sensitive book and I don't want my words to limit the message of her book. Since English is not my first language, I find it hard to give it justice, if that makes sense. There was a line in the book that I can't remember anymore. I thought I wrote it down, but I guess I already put it in my Google Sheet and I don't have it here. Which really made me sad because she was talking about how their playgrounds are starting to become like cemetery. When I read that part, my understanding was I guess the government, the officials are not looking forward to having their community, the black community, to have a future, because playground equates to or represents children, right? But slowly they're using, or the playground is being converted to cemetery, and in my understanding they're expecting their community to just like die, because no one will use the playground anymore, right? There will be no children in the future anymore. There will be no children from their community anymore. So might as well use this playground, this land, to put them in when they're not living anymore. Another line is, actually this is not just one line because she keeps on repeating it throughout her, not throughout, maybe like 5 times or less than 5 times in her memoir. But she wrote there, I am nothing. And it's saddening to think of yourself that you are nothing. It's not because you thought yourself that you are nothing. It's because that's how the people around you made you feel. Next book is another memoir. It's Educated by Thao Westover. This is about her life. She grew up in a mountain or in a hill, and growing up, her family or her parents, especially her dad, think that education or not going to school is a work of the devil, work of the government, that it will pollute their mind. But before that, because she is, I think, a middle child, if I remember it right, or somewhere like one of the youngest, her older brothers actually were able to go to school. But at some point, her father decided that they don't need to go to school anymore. So when she is growing up, she didn't experience attending a school. They homeschooled, her mother homeschooled them, but not to the point where her mother is teaching them. It's just giving them books, making them read it. And there was even a part there where she shared that sometimes she would just like open a math book and then like touch, the middle line of the book, count 50 pages or 25 pages, and then after that she would go back to her mom and tell her mom that, oh, I finished 25 pages of the book. But that didn't stop her from wanting to achieve more. Eventually, she was able to enroll to college with the help of her brother, who also pushed himself to go to college. And then eventually, with the help of her professors, or like the encouragement of her professors, she was also able to get her master's and her PhD. Now, educated is not just about her education, it also is about reclaiming her identity, because her dad is so against with her being able to go to school. Her dad made up this like stories about her, like she has that the devil got to her, that they got into her brain, or the government got to her brain. Actually, in the end of the book, she is telling something like that she wanted to reclaim her identity. And for me, I thought that that memoir was really a great way to do that, because she was able to share her story, not just because she mentioned that her father was a leader of a religious group or something, and that group has become big, and because they are listening to her father's teachings, a lot of those people thought that they knew her real story, but in reality they don't, because they got the version from the father. So I thought that the memoir was really a good way to introduce herself. Next is the Cemetery of Untold Stories. This is a story about Alma and the characters in her book. So Alma inherited a land in Dominican Republic, and from the US, he flew there and decided to live there. And at the same time, build a cemetery not for dead people, but for the stories, or for the characters of her stories that did not have an ending, or because she was not able to end their story or finish their story. But while living there, she also was looking for a caretaker of the cemetery. And so she hired a woman named Filomena. Filomena will also share her story to the readers, and aside from that, to the characters in Alma's stories. The book has kind of a magic realism, if that is the correct term. The characters, Alma and Filomena, they can hear voices, not of dead people, but of stories around them. Next book is This Motherless Land by Nikki May. I like this book, especially the beginning, because it reminded me of stories where, okay, so this book is about two cousins. Funke, I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name correctly. Funke is from Nigeria. She was living in Nigeria before she reached the age of 9. But because of a tragedy, she lose her family, and she had to go to London and live there with her relatives, who is the family of her mom's sister and her aunt's niece. And then she will form a friendship a good relationship with her niece. But of course, it's not just that. It is still a tragedy, a novel with tragedies. The cousins will grow up together, but they will be separated for another reason. And then, because of that, Fonke will have to go back to Nigeria. But the thing is, when she go back to Nigeria, it's not the same Nigeria that know she knew. I also like this book that because it discusses different issues like misogyny, racism, and I noticed that in some books, I guess in some books it's always like a subtle way of like discussing those issues, right? But in the story, Funke also mentioned that she finds Nigerian people are more direct when they're talking about something, unlike those from the UK, where she has lived with her mom's family. So, like, she doesn't understand if those people are saying the truth or they're like going in circles instead of like telling it straight to them. So I think that is very visible, very evident in the book. I liked it because it was very honest and it was very direct. Not direct like it will give you like the whole story. It will like, not direct that it will that you don't have to think for yourself or you don't have to or the author will feed everything to you, but direct that yes, we are experiencing this and then I will say it. Next is all adults here. The main characters are Astrid and her family or her 3 children. These children are already adults. This is about family, about secrets, but not secrets in a way of like thriller or suspense, but secrets that are, I guess, kind of normal secrets, and then how they will share these secrets to their family, to the family. My favorite character there is Astrid's granddaughter. Her name is Cecilia, and her friendship with August. Next is Banyan Moon. Banyan Moon is also a book, a story, a novel about family. But this time it's about a grandmother, her daughter, and the daughter's daughter. So grandmother, mother, and daughter. I find this book a little hard to read just because the writing, the sentences, they are very, for me they are very poetic, they are descriptive, they are vivid. It's just that whenever and I mean it in a positive way, in a good way, there are sentences there that feels like they have a whole story of their own. And because I read, my mind sometimes is very literal. For me to be able to understand that sentence, I also played it in my mind and tried to imagine the story that is in the sentence, in just one sentence. That's why I find it a little hard, because I am reading the story of the whole book and at the same time my mind keeps on like drifting to the stories in each sentences. I don't know if you understand what I mean, um, or if you experience that as well. But yes. So the story is also about the relationships between these three generational women, and each of them has their own secrets. I guess the grandmother and the mother has a secret that the granddaughter doesn't know. At the same time, the grandmother and the daughter has a secret, which is unintentional because the granddaughter found about it after the grandmother passed away. So the story, so I don't, please forgive me if I will mispronounce the names because the names are Vietnamese. When, aside from the granddaughter, the granddaughter Anne, she was living separately from her grandmother and her mother now that she's adult, but she had to go back to her hometown in Florida because her grandmother Wong passed away. And another thing is she is pregnant. So the story kind of roots out or stems out from that, about dealing with their with the mother. I forgot her name. What is her name again? It's not May. Was it May? So the mother May and Anne's grief after losing their grandmother, because Anne growing up, because this mother and daughter, for some reason, unfortunately, their only connection with each other is the grandmother, or what connects them is their grandmother, is the grandmother. So now they have to navigate how to, you know, live with each other, or how to have a good relationship. Next book is Sweet Bean Paste. This is a Japanese book translated to English. It's not a physical book. I thought of taking a break from the physical books because I felt that they are all heavy for me and I wanted to read something light. But this book wasn't also light. So this is a story about Toshiro and about Yoshi. Toshiro is a dorayaki seller and he was looking for a helper. And Yoshi applied to be the helper, but I guess the issue is that she is already old. And aside from that, her hands are from a disease that she had when she was younger, made it deformed. And it will stem out from that. They will form a bond. Toshiro will find out what this disease is, and they will talk about their past life, about Yoshi's past life, because she's hiding where this disease originated from. And at the same time, Toshiro is kind of hesitant to share about his past life. Oh, and aside from that, I also watched the movie because I learned that they also made a movie based from this one. I guess if you are interested with the book, I would recommend you watch the movie first and then read the book, because when I was watching it, my mind was fighting or like looking for the things that are in the book that is not in the movie. And it was hard for me to enjoy it. I feel like I was being like critical instead of just enjoying the story. Next is Lil B. These two books here are the last two books I borrowed that I was not able to finish before I returned them. So I still have them with me. Next is Lil B. Lil B is about, I love this book. I thought I loved this book. I thought I was gonna give it the same five-star ratings as Kite Runner. This is a story about Little B. She is also from Nigeria. And another woman, Sarah. So there will be two perspectives here again, or two point of views. Lil B and Sarah. It started when Lil B got out of a immigration detention center after she arrived in London, and she was looking for a place to stay in. And she called Sarah's husband and told him that I'm going to your address. I don't know if I should share more because the blurb at the back said like tell your friends about it, but don't tell them how the story unfold. But I still would recommend this. I know my review doesn't make is not very helpful, but I ask you to try this book. Although you might be a little, I guess, because I was annoyed at Sarah for some reason. I was annoyed or I guess I did not enjoy Sarah's story. I enjoyed Lil B. I like how her character talks. I like that she is funny and still optimistic, even though she had suffered, she had witnessed a lot of cruelty. And I love the character. I love Little B. I wish I can read. I wish the book is just from her perspective. It's I want to say that it's funny. I want to say that it's entertaining, but at the same time, the ending is not funny. It's sad, but I guess that not like depressing sad, but it was sad. And I wish she had a better ending. And the last one is What Happened to Ruthy Ramirez. I also like this book. Out of the 9, I borrowed 10, but I only read 9. I did not finish one of them. Out of those books from my June TBR, these two I think are my favorite. Although I cannot give them 5-star ratings, maybe like 4.8. This one is about a family. I guess I like I like stories about family. So this is about Ruthy Ramirez family. Ruthy, when she was 16, she disappeared. And her family, of course, looked for her, but unfortunately, they did not find her. So that's kind of like the beginning of the story. And then, of course, they have to move on to their lives. And in each chapter, it will be a perspective or a story from her two sisters, Jessica. What's the name? Jessica, their mom, Dolores, and Mina. I also enjoyed reading this one. I mean it in a good way. I liked how the characters talk. I thought they were funny. I thought they have a good family dynamic. Although there are still a little drama within the family, but I think the heaviest one is the heaviest drama is the disappearance of Ruthy Ramirez. Anyway, if you enjoy watching messy reality shows like, let's say, Love Island, you are very into the person's life, I think you will enjoy this. So the story is Jessica and Anne, her her sisters, were watching a reality show of girls who will live together in one house, and they thought that one of those girls is Ruthy. So they thought of a plan to go to the set of the reality show and see for themselves, because they were hopeful that it will be their sister, to see for themselves. And then their mother, Dolores, found out about that plan, and she, with her friend Irene, decided to go with them. Because of course, if it really is Ruthie, her mother would of course want to be there. I find this book fun to read, but at the same time, it also is a sad reflection or reality of black women who goes missing and who are not being found, or only gets little attention in the news and little help until no one, or until everybody stop looking for them. So that. Now let's move on to my July TBR pile. First is Real Americans by Rachel Kong. I already finished this one. I think this is a combination, this is a mix of love story, but not ordinary love story, and magic realism, or a bit of a sci-fi, but the science fiction part is, I would say, only 20% of the book. Next is The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride. This is also one of my wanted to read books. And next is Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Now this one is not in my wanted to read books. First of all, because this is a sci-fi and I am not a very good reader of sci-fi. My mind is not as imaginative when it comes to science fiction. This one, I did not know that it kind of a sci-fi, but I think it's more of magic realism. Anyways, I did not really intend to read this at first, but because it was available in the library, I thought I might as well get it, since there are a lot of good reviews or hype on TikTok about this book. So I will give it a try. Maybe I will end up liking it. Next is Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. I know there was a movie. I heard about the movie first before I found out that it was based from a book. I did not watch the movie, and I have no idea what the story is about. But again, there are a lot of good reviews on this book. The librarian actually also said that the book is better than the movie. Next is Normal People by Sally Rooney. Again, I only chose this book because I always see it online It's not in my wanted to read books, but I will give it a try. Maybe I will enjoy it. Next is Salvage the Bones by Jesmyn Ward. If you remember earlier, the first book that I read for the month of June is by Jesmyn Ward. Now, this one is not a memoir, it is a fiction, it is a novel. And I remember in that memoir, she also mentioned that in her novels, she tend to write or give the characters happy endings because it's I guess it's kind of her escape from her, not escape, but it's a way of giving her life, her experiences, a ending that they deserve, that are good, that I guess that she can control, or she has a she has her way, if that makes sense. And then lastly is the Secret Life of Bees by Sumong Kid. I read one of her books, The Mermaid Chair, when I was in college. I thought it was good. I thought it was even touching, but I was college then. And when I was reading it, when I was in college, I wanted to find this book, but for some reason I can't find it. I know there is also a movie from this book, and I know that Alicia Keys was in the movie. I have some prejudices, I guess, with some of these books aside from I saw them from TikTok. I thought they are interesting, and at the same time I want to diversify the authors that I read from. Read in, read with. Yeah. If you have if you are a reader, if you love reading books, if you have any recommendation or suggestion, I would really appreciate if you can share them in a comment section. I'm not, how do you say this? I'm not disregarding your suggestion. What I wanted to say is I am thinking of, after this one, I'm thinking of reading the classic literature. But we will see because I still have some books in my Kindle that I haven't read yet, and I have to read them so that I can refresh and have I guess, a clean slate. And I know that I know that my books are not piling up. So that is all. And well, I'll give you. Hopefully, I'll be better at sharing my thoughts. I'll be better at sharing my reviews with these books. And then I'll share them with you at the start of August. So that is all. If you are looking for new books to read, I hope that these books will interest you or you give them a try. I hope you enjoyed watching this, and I'll see you soon. Bye!